Our first question will go to Thad Bell with SB Nation. Thad, your line is open.
Hey, Peter. Good morning, or good afternoon now, I guess. How has training been in lead up to the next playoff game?
It's been good. It was a little bit challenging just because we weren't sure yet what night we were going to play on, so it was last minute putting schedule together. Well, we had two schedules, one playing on Tuesday, one playing on Wednesday. But all in all, the guys have been good, and weather's been a little challenging, pretty cold, windy, and frost on the field. But outside of that, the guys have I think been in a pretty good rhythm.
Our next question will go to Seren Petra with Sports Radio 810 WHB. Seren, your line is open.
Peter, I'll just take a shot here. I know we were waiting on an announcement of some sort that's supposed to come down. Has there been any conversation about a bubble for the Final Four or some kind of movement along that front?
No, zero. I think it's been, other than the Columbus situation, I think everybody's been, pretty healthy. Yeah, I have heard zero in regards to that.
Our next question will go to Aaron Ladd with KSHB. Aaron, your line is open.
Peter, this Minnesota team is red hot. They're on that unbeaten streak. What have you seen from them? I think it's been September 23rd since their last loss. What have you seen from them at that time?
I would say since the beginning of the year, I think they have an excellent roster. They've added some other weapons along the way. Team that defends well, like competes really well defensively, excellent in the counter, and the final piece is they just don't give up until the final whistle. And there's not a lot of teams like that in Major League Soccer. They're pretty special and unique that way.
Our next question will go to Jerry Zagota with the Star Tribune. Jerry, your line is open.
Hi, Peter. Minnesota has never won down there. This whole notion of blue hell, how much of that is your supporters, the stadium itself, or just the fact that you guys have really good teams year after year?
It's probably all the above. It's never one thing, but we've always had really good games against them. Every game is always good, so I'm not one to look at things like that, because I think every team and every game is always different. Even within a season, teams change. The day of the game is always different, and I've always been under the opinion, especially in our league, because of so much parity, that any team can beat any team in any given day. So that's why I think when you get into situations like we're currently in, this is, I think the only difference here is that we're not traveling. That's the difference. It's not as if teams have to go into other people's places right now and deal with fans and all of those types of things. It's a different animal. So I don't think that home field advantage gives you anything other than the fact that you get to sleep at home. You don't have to travel. And even the travel has been mitigated with the way that we're doing our charter flights. I think that works really well for a lot of us, and especially this short distance that they are coming and we've gone there. It's not a tough haul for any team. So I don't see really any of the advantages other than like I said, in your own bed. The last thing I would say is that when you look at the playoffs and the way they are, all these games that you play once you enter the playoffs, they're finals. They're one-game finals, and you have to be prepared, to give your best and receive the best from somebody else. And so you have to be on top of your game if you're going to move on.
Next question goes to Ali Trost with Sports Radio 810 WHB. Ali, your line is open.
Coach, although you guys have played this Minnesota team a number of times this season, your last matchup with them did get canceled. What's the advantage or disadvantage there, given that Emmanuel Reynoso had been getting more time? They had Kai Kamara. Do you feel that you were at a disadvantage not getting to play them that one last time?
No, I mean, it could have been. We could talk about all the things that could or couldn't have been, whether you win, tie, or draw or lose, regarding the standings and everything else. Don't know. At the end, we played them before. We've watched them play. I think both teams kind of know each other pretty well. I think they're actually in a good place, as was stated already. They're in good form. And we know how dangerous they can be, and how competitive they are. And so, look, we'll have to be at our best if we're able to achieve success against them, because they're a very, very good team. It's why they're favored to win.
Our next question will go to Tom Bogert with MLSsoccer.com. Tom, your line is open.
Hey, Peter, just wanted to see what the update was, if there's an update rather, on Alan Pulido, and kind of following off on what you just said. Were you saying that Minnesota are favored to win, or did I mishear that?
Well, that's what pundits are saying, so I'm going with what they say. That's what I hear. That's what I see. So in regards to our team, everybody's available for selection except for Zusi, Gutierrez, and Matt Beasler at this moment. Matt's close. Matt's the closest one of those three guys. He's still dealing with his concussion, but he's definitely a lot closer than he has been.
Our next question will go to Katia Castorena with ESPN Deportes. Katia, your line is open.
Thank you. Hello, Peter. On that same line, in terms of Alan's status, you decided to not include him last game. And how crucial is to have him at his best at this stage? And how close do you see him getting to that?
Yeah, you don't replace him. He's a special player within our team. It's as you all know, it was a big objective of ours last season to add him to the team, and so you don't replace him. This is the important time. This is what you fight all year long to get to have those players be in your team and help you along the way. And so that's why we do what we do. The only thing I would say is that it's the same thing I said last week. The thing that I'm always going to be, and whether it's Alan Pulido or any other player on our team, it doesn't matter who it is, I'm always going to be very cautious when it comes to making the decision of whether or not they should be a part of the team, whether they should substitute onto the field, or whether they should start in a game based on what their health is. I don't ever want to put a player in a position, I never have and never will, where they are not prepared to go and play from a physical perspective. And when you make those decisions, it's not just me, it's medical staff, it's also the player involved. And if the one thing about Alan where the difference is that if Alan was 20 years old and he just came to our club, it would be a difficult decision on how I would make my decision with him, because I probably wouldn't have had enough experience with him, and he also wouldn't have had, being so young if he was 20, not knowing how to deal with injuries and whether he should play or he shouldn't play or what have you. Whereas when a guy is his age, 28, and seasoned veteran like he is, I can sit down and have a good discussion with him, along with medical staff and everyone else, and make a decision, because I feel that the player has, a lot of experience and is always going to be honest about where he is physically, for himself, for the team, for all of it. So it's the one thing that I feel very confident in with Alan, just because his age and his experience. At the same time, I'm always going to probably err towards the side of always being conservative in situations like this. That's why last week he wasn't a part of the team. This week probably different, just because he's progressed incredibly well.
Next question goes to Sean Goodwin with the Kansas City Star. Sean, your line is open.
Peter, over the last couple of years now, there's been this whole thing on social media about this being a friendliest rivalry in sports, but, blocks of close games and how many times you guys have played, is there anything friendly about this game anymore? And can you just maybe speak a little bit about this rivalry?
it's always been my opinion that there's anytime you're playing a game, at least my perspective, there is no such thing as a friendly. I just don't know what that is. At the end of the day, these guys are all professionals. The staffs are as well. We compete, but we have a tremendous amount of respect, for their team, for their club, for their staff, for everyone. And I think it's I don't know what. All I know is it's a playoff game, and that's what we're playing. We want to win, just like if it was a league game or anything else. And I'm sure they feel the same exact way.
Our next question goes to Tyler Jones with KLWN. Tyler, your line is open.
Hey, Peter, you mentioned you guys being an underdog going into this game against Minnesota. What's been kind of your message to your team? Are you guys going to have a chip on your shoulder of sorts here?
Look, I think for a lot of respect during the season or this year, we have been exactly that. And I don't know if there's a chip on our shoulder or not. I think at the end, the guys have been very disciplined and very committed to trying to be successful this season. I think the motivation of that is probably what drives the group. And I think that's where it is. It's look, and this is not taking anything away from Minnesota. They're a very good team. And so, look, we weren't in the playoffs last year, and rightfully so. I think that there's people that doubt us. They doubted us making the playoffs, I'm sure, this year. They doubted us as we were the number one seed. We won the division. And that's okay, and I understand it. I've been doing this too long, both as a player and as a manager, and I just know how it is. And I think the bottom line is that for us, we got to stay committed and focused to us and how we want to go about our approach. And I think that the guys are in a good place.
Our next question will go to Daniel Sperry with Last Word on Soccer. Daniel, your line is open.
Hey, Peter. Prior to the San Jose match, Ilya talked about how high the work ethic was going to have to be to beat them. Kind of singled out that was one very area that was key to victory over San Jose. What is an area for you that you feel is an absolute key for victory over Minnesota on Wednesday night?
You have to be able to defend. You have to be able to defend. That's really it. They're an excellent attacking team. They have a lot of different weapons, and we have to be able to defend against that because they can hurt you, as they proved against Colorado. I don't think Colorado's an easy team by any means. I think Colorado's a really difficult team. Colorado beat some really good teams down the stretch after they came back from all the people that they had positive with COVID. So they had some really good victories down the stretch, and I think that they're a tough team. So Minnesota was very dangerous against them, and so defending is going to be a really important aspect of the game.
Our next question goes to David Smale with Field Level Media. David, your line is open.
Good afternoon, Peter. With the different playoff format this year, where it's a one-game series rather than the aggregate scoring home and home thing, we've seen a lot of higher-seeded teams get eliminated. Can you talk about the extra pressure that creates for you and your team as the top seed in the Western Conference?
I think there's a couple things. I think that look, I don't think anybody. I think you'd rather always be at home. There's no doubt. I also think it's a difference when you have fans like full stadium, and we would have obviously a full stadium if we were allowed to have, full capacity. So I think that makes it a little different for a team when they come and play you. But I think in this day right now where, you have limited number of fans, don't get me wrong, the fans that will be at our game will be incredibly important to the motivation of our players for sure. But I mean, I can't sit here and lie to you and say that it's not different when we have a full stadium. Of course it is. The ambiance, the environment is just absolutely incredible. And so, but again, the fans that we'll have there, I know that they'll be into it. They'll be cheering us on, and they'll be pushing the guys on, and that's what we need. But it's definitely a different environment when you don't have full capacity. It changes things, and I think that's one of the reasons why you see it a little bit differently currently. But I also say, I don't think you can ever underestimate any team in the playoffs, and we see that every year with March Madness. You see that all the time. Underdogs, teams always find a way, and I just think in our sport, with as much parity as we have, when you get into the playoffs, the adage of anybody can beat anybody on any given day is never so relevant.
Our next question goes to Seren Petra with Sports Radio 810 WHB. Seren, your line is open.
Peter, was there since 13? You guys have had some pretty painful exits out of the playoffs. This one, you're up 1-0, then down 2-1. You're up 3-2, tied. Was this a necessary accomplishment, like to win it that way? Like I know there's been a lot of conversation here about you guys being underdogs, and maybe it's the way that one went. But was it almost like you had to, I don't know, face down your greatest fears of what's happened in the past and get through it, that maybe now all that pressure people are talking to you about right now comes off?
Honestly, I don't think our guys feel pressure. I don't think our guys feel pressure. I think there's no doubt that the game against San Jose was pressure when you're in it, that you're in it. It's just the way the game is. It poses all kinds of examples of moments where you get challenged. But I've always been under the opinion that if you're going to win something, it's never easy. You got to go through, the toughest steel goes through the hottest fire, and so that you're going to have to go through very challenging times. And I think it's one of the reasons why you see teams when they win everything at the end, they talk about the journey and all the things that they went through. Well, it's because normally it takes a lot to win something. So I don't expect I didn't expect the game against San Jose to be easy. And as I said, that if we were fortunate enough to get past that game, that the next game was going to be a completely different challenge. And so, I don't know. The game was the way it was, but we found a way, and that's the inspiring thing. It's nice to be on the positive side of that result as opposed to the negative side of that result.
Next question will go to Ali Trost with Sports Radio 810 WHB. Ali, your line is open.
Coach, before that San Jose game, you said that you'd learned during the game more about the younger players and how they'd respond to adversity given their lack of MLS playoff experience. So how did you like the response, and what did they gain from that game now going forward?
Well, what can I say about the young guys? I mean, when I look at Boose's goal that he scored, you guys probably don't see it this way, but I'll say it this way, and that is, it is incredibly mature for a player to when that ball gets played into Kyrie. The ball that Kyrie plays is incredible to Busio, but the wherewithal on Boose's side to take a touch and freeze the goalkeeper and then finish it. Most guys, I don't care how old you are, come off of that trying to hit it first time. And it winds up being a reaction save for a goalkeeper, whereas he froze the keeper by taking the touch. And that takes a heck of a lot of confidence in yourself to do that. And so, incredibly impressive with that. And his overall work ethic in the game was great. I thought Lindsey was really steady and solid in the game, and he's grown with every game that we've played thus far that he's been in. And then Felipe coming on the field and just closing things out the way Felipe can. He always comes through in those moments. So all those guys have contributed in great ways. And we, for us to continue to move on, they're going to have to continue to keep coming up with those kinds of performances.
Next question goes to Thad Bell with SB Nation. Thad, your line is open.
Peter, you were just asked about the young guys, but I know we have Roger coming up shortly, and it seems like whenever I've interviewed some of the younger players about who has helped them adjust and be a mentor, it's almost always Roger. It's always Roger as like the first name they mentioned. Can you talk about how much he means to the team and his veteran leadership for everybody, but specifically those young guys?
The thing about Roger is that, it's the stuff that you guys can't see, but he is kind of the connector within the team. To put it simple is that if you come up, to the cafeteria and, I don't know, a bunch of the Latino guys some reason they like to stay at the table usually a little bit longer than the rest, and they like to talk. And so if he comes up late to the cafeteria and he sees, somebody who's not with the group sitting over by himself, it would be easy for him to gravitate to the Latino group, but he goes over and sits with the other guy. And if the situation was reversed, he would go sit with the other guy. He's always been a connector within our club. He's tremendous with the young guys because I think it's just his personality at the end of the day. And then there's one last thing is that I think that Roger has a real affinity with this club, and I think he has it in him, whether it's done on purpose or whether it's just happens because it's instinct. But I think he has a true affinity, and that he wants to make sure that someday when he's done here, that he, leaves the club in a really good place. And I've always appreciated the fact that he takes a lot of pride in making sure that when the young guys are getting their chance to play or whatever, that he always goes and has a conversation with them. And I'm sure there's many a times that I've even gone up to him and say, Rod, you should have a go talk. And he goes, I've already talked to him. He's already done it before I even asked him. And the other thing about Roger is that I think it's a great lesson for a lot of the guys because, I don't know what it is. I have a lot of respect for Roger as a player, as a person. And I feel comfortable at times, having a go at Roger in practice or whatever, because maybe something's not going well within the group and I decide to have a go at Roger, and he's always the guy that can take it. And I'm sure that some of the young guys see that and figure if I can have a go at Roger, then obviously I can have a go at them. And that says a lot about Roger's personality. It says a lot about his confidence in himself. It's definitely infectious with the group, and he's a leader in all respects, and he's a winner. He's a competitor. He's an ultimate competitor. And so, just a tremendous guy to have in the team, to be a mentor to all those guys, but also to be a leader within the group as well, because he never stops in a game. I mean, the only way he stops in a game is if I take him out. And outside of that, the guy would, probably the best way to say it is that if he had to get to a ball or had to, win a ball or had to get his head on the end of a ball, he would step on his own tongue to get there if he had to. I mean, he's just that kind of competitor.
Next question will go to Nate Bukaty with Sports Radio 810 WHB. Nate, your line is open.
Hey, Peter, I have a kind of a two-part follow-up on Roger there because, 2013, when you guys won MLS Cup, was the one year he wasn't there. He's basically helped you guys win every other trophy that you've won at Children's Mercy Park. So I'm curious if you see an extra meaning to him about this competition, trying to win that thing for his first time, and also the way you managed his minutes through the season this year. Do you feel like you accomplished getting him to the postseason as fresh as you want him to be?
I do. I'll answer that second question. I do. I think we've been really smart with Roger. I remember going into one game, I think it was it's match day -1 or match day -2. I can't remember. And I went to Roger beforehand and said, hey, you're gonna, I'm gonna play in this game. I'm gonna start you. And so they went through warm up, and the end of warm up, I put the two kind of teams against each other, team that was starting, and kind of the scout team against our first team. And I decided to not put Roger in there. And I'm sure at that point he was extremely confused of why he was on the starting team. And it's just, I think at that moment I had to reflect back for a second. I thought it would have been much better if I only stuck with at a maximum 45 minutes for him. And so, because I know what would happen with Roger, we start him in the game, and then he'd come out at halftime and say, I can easily go another 15, 20 minutes. And I would do that just because, I've done it so many times with Roger, and I know that he can do it. But I just didn't think it was the best for him. So I actually put a governor on myself, and that's why I chose not to start him, and I decided to bring him in the second half, and he was much more effective. And I think, and for him, just in his own mind and getting ready for the game, I think it wound up being the right decision. And it's one, managing him, and it's also managing the staff and how we see him. And I think, there were situations like that we were much smarter as a staff around him on this year than maybe in past.
At this time, I do want to pause briefly from the Q&A. We are anticipating an announcement from Major League Soccer here momentarily. I'm going to share that announcement with media now. It reads, Major League Soccer today has announced changes to the Audi 2020 MLS Cup playoff schedule. The Western Conference semifinal between Sporting Kansas City and Minnesota United FC will move one day to December 3rd at 7 p.m. Central Time and will now be televised on Fox and Fox Deportes. This shift in scheduling was not as a result of COVID-19. As part of this move, the Western Conference final will now take place one day later on Monday, December 7th on FS1 to maintain a minimum of 3 days of rest for all clubs. In addition, the league confirmed that Columbus Crew SC will host the New England Revolution in the Eastern Conference final on Sunday, December 6th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time on ABC. This time we'll resume the Q&A with manager and sporting director Peter Vermes. Our next question will go to Rob Collins with Fox 4. Rob, your line is open.
All right, Peter, we've been waiting on that news. What's your reaction when you hear that, and what does that mean for your club? You already said you had to make contingency plans in training. So where are you now, and how does this affect you moving forward?
Yeah, I understand, and I think when you look at this entire year and how things have changed, I think we've done a really good job of adapting and adjusting. I think that for all of us, there's a couple things. One is I think you have to be able to adapt and adjust. I think the other part of it is, though, too, is that we're continuously trying to grow this game. We're a part of the entertainment business. This gives us a great opportunity to broaden our reach to different spectators that are out there. So for us, getting an opportunity to play an MLS playoff game in a primetime spot, on Primetime Network is huge. So I think it's great for Major League Soccer. I think we'll do what we have to do to prepare, and I'm sure that our guys will be ready for the match.
Next question goes to Sean Goodwin with the Kansas City Star. Sean, your line.
Hey, Peter, just going back to the Espinoza stuff and what Nate asks about missing 2013, and have you talked to him at all about, is there a little extra something there when it comes to playoff times? And I know there's a couple of games left, but just do you see that in him, that he wants to win that silverware for Sporting after this has been basically his whole career?
I think it's a question you'll have to ask him. It's not really a deep conversation that I have with him. What I will say is that whatever the trophy is that is out there and available to go for, Roger's always going for it. So I think everybody, when they get to this place in the year, when they're in the playoffs, there's always the intensity of the games are always higher. The aggressiveness of the players is always greater. It's just because it's defined events. Like I said, this is a one game final that we're playing against Minnesota on Thursday night now. So it's do or die, and you have to put everything into it. So I think that he's one of those guys personally that always competes. Whether this has a little extra motivation for him or not, I can't answer that. It's going to have to be something you talk to him about.
Our next question goes to Seren Petra with Sports Radio 810 WHB. Seren, your line is open.
Peter, I assume you knew all this was coming down, right? It was just a matter of them getting the release together or whatever. So just to understand it, the other half is going to play 2 days, is still going to play on Tuesday, and you're moving back to Thursday. Is that correct? And then I'll have a follow-up.
That is correct.
Yeah. So, okay. And then you mentioned the part about the marketing piece and being able to be standalone, but competitively, I mean, to turn around 2 extra days for the other team, that kind of sucks, right? I mean, that's not ideal.
It's definitely not competitive parity, that's for sure. But I would say that none of this year has been, and so what I don't know what to tell you other than I'm not really worried about the next game. I only have one focus, and so does our team, and that's this upcoming game. We got to get through this game before we can think about anything else, and that's our obstacle, and that's how I'm going to look at it.
Peter, thank you very much for the time today.
Thank you.
For the media on the call, please stand by. We'll be joined shortly by Sporting Kansas City midfielder Roger Espinoza. Our first question will go to Soren Petro with Sports Radio 810 WHB. Soren, your line is open.
Roger, just the way the game went, right? A lot of roller coaster last time, getting up early, losing the lead, looking like you had it done, getting it tied at the very end. There have been a lot of painful losses for this club since it won the championship in 2013. Was there ever a moment amongst the guys or you personally where you felt like, oh no, here we go again?
No, not at all. Games like this are difficult. If you go back to any championship that we had won or we had lost in other circumstances in the playoffs, I mean, games go like that, but it never goes through my mind. I mean, I'm so focused in the game. At this point, I was out when they tied the game, and my job right there was to try to get the guys going. I applaud the guys for being able to stay focused for the remaining of the game, because it's always very hard to get the game drawn at the last 20 seconds and give up. And the guys just kept going, and we knew in penalties that it was going to be another chance for us to win the game. So, I'm very happy that the guys did what they did. They fought the last 30 minutes of the game in extra time, and no moment that I thought, here we go again. No, it's how the games goes against a very, very difficult team to me.
Our next question goes to Sean Goodwin with the Kansas City Star. Sean, your line is open.
Roger, I hope you're doing well. We talked to Peter a little bit just about, obviously you guys have a couple of games to go in the playoffs, but you did miss 2013 with Wigan. So every year when the playoffs come around, do you feel a little bit extra something to, being around guys like Beasley and Zeus and all your other veterans, like you missed that MLS Cup? Do you feel a little bit extra something to get yours?
Yeah, I mean, I get excited every time playoffs comes. This is why I'm here. This is why you play the game. Regular season is one thing, but like they say, playoffs, another league. It's another season. And I get excited every year because there's an opportunity to get to that, to get to the MLS Cup. So for me, it's an exciting moment. It's like when Open Cup. It's the same thing. I already won Open Cup a few times, but every year is a new year, and you want to win it. I think I have the same hunger for MLS Cup. I want to win it, and every time playoffs comes and we get opportunities like we have coming up, it's an exciting moment for me because it's an opportunity to reach that level.
And then, have you had many conversations with Peter just about going for your personal first MLS Cup and what it means to you?
We take a game at a time. We don't talk ahead of what's going on. Obviously, that's the main thing that is spoken at the beginning of the season or in preseason, and then the rest you got to take a game at a time. But as the expectation of this club is to reach the highest level, and so it's always to be a contender to win the MLS Cup. So I don't think you have to tell me for me to know that. My goal is always to reach the top level, and that's what we have right now. The top level is the next match, so hopefully we can reach that.
Our next question goes to Thad Bell with SB Nation. Thad, your line is open.
Hey, Roger. Obviously, the playoffs is one of the most important things going on right now, but probably way more important is what's been going on in Honduras. And I know you've been doing a lot of fundraising and stuff like that. How is that going? Is there still things that needs to be done? Is there still things that people can do to help you?
Yes, absolutely. It's still going. I've been out a little bit since we've been playing a lot of games. We've been training a lot, but I'm very grateful for people that donated. I spoke to the organizations not too long ago, and they are saying that it's going pretty damn well. That they have received a lot of support from people in the United States and Honduras and the international areas too. So that I'm very grateful and very show a lot of gratitude to people that have helped Honduras, and we're going to continue to do that. And hopefully in the next coming days, I'm able to, continue to support these organizations and all the other organizations that are helping Honduras. So, the three organizations that we had spoken at the beginning when Hurricane Eta and now Hurricane Iota happened is the same website that is going on through MLS, and you can donate or support from there, and hopefully we can continue to do that.
Our next question goes to Seren Petra with Sports Radio 810 WHB. Seren, your line is open.
Roger, the topic came up about you guys maybe being an underdog in this, that everyone's talking about Minnesota's undefeated streak. You're the number one seed, right? Top team in the West. Does that put a chip on your shoulder? Does that motivate you at all? Have you even heard that conversation?
You said about the underdog. What did you say? I didn't hear the first part about the underdogs.
Sorry, let me unmute that again. That you guys are being viewed as the underdog, that Minnesota's favored in this match, even though that, you guys are the number one seed. People are talking like, they're the team that's supposed to win this one. Does that upset you? Does it put a chip on your shoulders? Has there been any conversation amongst you and your teammates about that?
No, not at all. I mean, these games are always tough. It doesn't matter who you're playing. These games are not easy, especially against a team with Minnesota who has played us many times this year. They're a very good team. It's not going to be an easy game, and it's a tough game. It's a tough game. I got to watch some of their qualities against Colorado. They have improved immensely since we last saw them. So it's not an easy game at all. And it doesn't matter who's underdog, who's not. It's just a game, 11v11. For 90 or plus minutes. So it's not going to be an easy game. Everybody has to be ready for it.
Our next question goes to Sean Goodwin with the Kansas City Star. Sean, your line is open.
Roger, I asked Peter the same thing, but there's been this whole idea the last couple of years on social media and whatnot that KC, Minnesota's the friendliest rivalry in sports. But the amount of times you guys have played and how close games have been, just how friendly is this game, especially with it being the playoffs? And can you maybe speak a little bit to the rivalry that's formed?
Yeah, I mean, some rivalries are created a whole different way. For us, it's that, they came to a league not too long ago. They're a very competitive team, and so do we. And, we have come very close in every single game that we had to play. So they are great guys. They're a great team. I like playing against them, and vice versa. I think, and we give everything we got. It's two teams working very hard every time, and it's good that there's no bad beef between the two teams, and we go to play soccer and nothing else.
You have a question from Carter Augustine with SKC TV. I'd like to know your thoughts on the addition from Minnesota United of Emmanuel Reynoso and what he brings to their squad.
Is that a question? I didn't hear.
Yeah, the question's from Carter Augustine with SKC TV asking about Emmanuel Reynoso and his addition to Minnesota United's roster and what he brings to their squad, in your opinion.
Yeah, I mean, wow, what a player, huh? It's, at first, the first game was hard to see really what he was bringing to the table, but now, I mean, he's an unbelievable player. It's like any of the South Americans, Argentinian guys coming into the league there. I mean, we know they're very shifty, good players. They see the game a whole different way than everybody else. They find their little spots on the field. They're shifty guys, play with a lot of instinct. I think serves them well now with Molino and him. It's a tough player and someone that I haven't played much against, so it's going to be very difficult.
Roger, thank you very much for the time this afternoon.
Thank you.